What is going on, golf fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Fairways and Dreams course review, where I take a look at a course that I've played. Sometimes it's only once, sometimes I've played this course multiple times, sometimes I frequent the course regularly, and I review it. I go over it in case you live in that mid-Atlantic region or if you're ever in the area of that's central to western Maryland, south central Pennsylvania, northern Virginia, eastern panhandle of West Virginia, all those areas. I've played courses all up and down that area, and I've also gone back to Wheeling, West Virginia, where I grew up, and highlighted some courses there. Today, we're going to be in Frederick County, Maryland. And I got to be honest, Frederick County is just east of where I live in Washington County. And we're talking about Richland Golf Club, formerly known as Hollow Creek. When this course opened in 2002, it was Hollow Creek. It is Middletown, Maryland. It is just one course, 18 holes. And this is a Rick Jacobson design. Did a little research on Rick Jacobson. This guy he's designed a lot of golf courses all around the world, not just in the United States. He is based in the Chicago area, and he did prior work with Jack Nicklaus and his design group. Rick Jacobson, that is, emphasizes using natural landscape to create blending aesthetic beauty with strategic challenges of all levels. I would agree with that. I mean, people say, like, this is the description of the course architect. Here's the course that you're going to play. I would agree with the summation of how this Rick Jacobson designed what is now called the Richland Golf Club. So the Richland Golf Club, as I mentioned, opened in 2002, so it's a fairly young golf course. It is a par 72 from the tips, 6,751 yards, a slope of 141, and a rating of 73.0. Now let's talk about some of the features as it pertains to the Richland Golf Club. Richland Golf Club, nestled in the Middletown Valley of Frederick County, Maryland, is truly a special place to unwind and relax from the daily grind. Just minutes from Interstate 70 and 35 minutes from the Washington, D.C. Beltway, Richland Golf Club is a remote treasure that is close to home. With amazing views of the Catoctin Mountain Range, this Rick Jacobson design cascades over the rolling countryside, making it both aesthetic and enjoyable for players of all abilities. With distances ranging from 5,000 to 6,800 yards and a choice of 4 sets of tees, this impeccably maintained layout requires precise shot making, yet yields playability to golfers of all levels. And that is from richlandgolfclub.com, their official website. It's a good description. I think it's fitting, very fitting. And this, again, when I said it was formerly Hollow Creek, it did ownership changed hands. And there was a time, I remember I played Hollow Creek when it opened. I loved Hollow Creek. It was a very nice golf course, very nice clubhouse. Everything about it was nice, great amenities. It was fantastic. Then all of a sudden it got sold. New ownership comes in, and there was a transition period where things certainly didn't look good. I can't speak to the finances of the company that bought it. I can't speak to, the ins and outs of what was going down with the deal, but I can speak to the playability of the course. And all of a sudden, the course started to go in the wrong direction. Nonetheless, it seems to have leveled, seems to be bouncing back, and the change in ownership, the Richland Golf Club seems to be at least headed in an upward trajectory. This course is a straightforward course. There's only a few quirky holes. I think mainly about, I believe it's number 9. Number 9 is a par 4. You cannot hit driver. You have to kind of lay up on this little terrace area. And if you go too far, you're OB. You're in a hazard, I guess. And you have to hit over this ravine down to the green. It's a quirky hole. But really, most of the holes, as I went through the scorecard and I've played this course enough, they are holes that when you stand on the tee box, you can see the whole hole. There's not a lot of blind shots. This is not a lot of target golf. It is, straightforward par 4. It might be lengthy. It might be a sloping fairway, but you see it. You know it. There's not a lot of blind shots. And in this case, there's not a lot of holes where when you finish the hole, you look back and say, well, I wish I would have known that. I would have played the hole differently. Very few would fall into that category. I will say that the par 3s on this course, I think, are very challenging. They're typically very long. It's the par 5s that are more playable. You can get home in 2 if you hit the ball far enough, and it's a risk-reward type golf course. I like those type of golf courses. I think this is a course that if you keep it in play, you can score well. So if you go back to the last course review I had a couple weeks ago of Greencastle Golf Club in Greencastle, Pennsylvania, that was when I said, if you shoot in the 70s, keep the scorecard because you played well. This course, if you keep it in play and you're a good putter, and they do have big greens, undulating greens. If you can keep it in play smart around the green, you should score well at Richland Golf Club. Let's talk about some amenities there at Richland Golf Club. They have what's called the Valley Sports Grill, which is just upstairs from the clubhouse. Actually, there is a bar area downstairs as well. Upstairs is a little bit more reserved, but still, the Valley Sports Grill, it's a simple menu. They have good food, seating. Sometimes you can get a seat outside and you can watch 18 green. It's a par 5 with the lake right around the green. It's a great finishing hole, and you can watch players come in as you're eating your food. It's great for post round. Average price for food, nothing crazy. I would say that it, like I said, great for a post-round meal if you want to just get a drink, have a small bite to eat. They do offer membership options at Richland Golf Club. I wish more clubs did this. Richland Golf Club, you don't have to call yourself a golf club to say, if you pay X number of dollars, you will get to be able to play here at a discounted rate, or you have to play for free, meaning unlimited membership. They have memberships that go over $3,000, as cheap as just under $2,000. And so there is that option if people really like the course, they live close enough, and they want to be there more than they are elsewhere. There are also some really great restaurants right near the golf course. I know there's a great, the Black Hog Barbecue is right there. There's a couple other really great restaurants right there. That area off of Interstate 70 is starting to get a lot of nice restaurants. So if you don't want to do the Valley Sports Grill, the location of the golf course, really good restaurants are right, almost within walking distance of the actual clubhouse. The location off of Interstate 70 provides great opportunities in both Hagerstown and Frederick. It's right in the middle. Middletown is named Middletown because it is right in between Hagerstown and Frederick, Maryland. So you could go to Frederick after you play and stay there. And there's a bunch of courses in Frederick County that you could play. You could go backwards west to Hagerstown, stay in Hagerstown. There's a lot of courses there you could play as well. Unfortunately, there's really no stay options in that Middletown area. It's still a very small community. And so the amenities there are a lot. There are a lot. So now let's look at this from a positives and negatives standpoint. So let's start with the positives. I do think this course is well maintained. The last time I played there, which was last year, early in the year, my dad and I went, and it feels like, and this is something we might talk about a little bit in the negatives. Every time you go, if you only have 2 or 3 people, they're always putting you with someone. So they do have a lot of people playing the course, but it is well maintained. They get a lot of play. So you have a course that gets a lot of play and it is still well maintained. That's a show, a really great sign of a good grounds crew that knows what they're doing. I talked about the clubhouse. Clubhouse is awesome. You have upstairs, which can accommodate weddings, and they have a big ballroom and stuff. It's a really great, I love the accessibility to the parking lot. They have a practice area right there on the premise. I don't know if they still do this. I don't think they had it when I played there last year. It used to be when it was Hollow Creek that when you paid for a round of golf, you got complimentary range balls. I love that. Not going to lie. I love that. If I'm paying a decent amount of money and they're like, hey, you're paying enough money. Here's a bag. It doesn't have to be a bucket. Here's a bag of golf balls. Help yourself. The range is literally right next to the parking lot. So in terms of the setup of the course and the setup of the clubhouse and the carts and all the stuff where you start the practice green, it's great. It's great. And so the practice area is right there on the premise. I do think, and I said this earlier, I think it's a playable layout, but more than that, I think it's a very fair layout. There's courses that I've played, and the one that I reviewed last time, the Greencastle Golf Club. There are holes where I'm like, this doesn't even seem fair. The way unless you've played this course a bunch, it doesn't even seem fair. That is not Richland Golf Club. It is a very fair design. I've got some really fond memories of this golf course. There's a par 4 on the back 9. I want to say it is number 12. There's marsh all on the left. It's really short. If you hit a good drive, you have well inside 100 yards into the green. I hit a good drive, had about 75 to 70 yards in, and hit a beautiful 56 degree, obviously not a full 56 degree. And there's a 2-tiered green. The pin was on the bottom. I hit right on that slope, and it came back down into the hole for an eagle. It was my first eagle where I dunked it, not like a par 5 eagle. I'd had one of those, But people say, if you had a hole in one, no, but I have holed out from the fairway, which I think is still pretty awesome. That happened on this golf course. And so when you talk about the fair layout and the playability, I'll give you an example. I mentioned number 18. So number 18 is a par 5. It's pretty open on the drive. Unless you go extremely far right, which there's houses there, you have a pretty much, there is a fairway bunker on the right side, but if you keep it straight or even a little left, you can really cut off the corner. Now, when you get out there, you're going to realize that even playing from the tips, a good drive that's anywhere between 250 and 300 off the tee, you're in go range. You're going to be within that 220, 215 yards away. And so you have a decision to make. Do I want to go for the green? And now when you get in around 50 yards and then it wraps around the left side of the green, there is a lake. So do I want to go for it and risk maybe pulling it left into the lake, or do I want to lay up to the right? There is a bunker on the right side. So if you go into that green side bunker on the right, that is a very difficult shot, especially for the amateur that doesn't want to hit it thin and go into the water on the other side. This is where I love this style of golf course because it's a risk reward. And I said this earlier, and I'm going to repeat it. You look at these holes and say, man, I could really take advantage. And if you do hit those good golf shots, you will take advantage. So on number 18, go back to that. If you hit a good drive, even if you're in the left rough, if you're playing from the whites and not the tips, you might have 175 yards in, which for a lot of people, that's a 5 iron, a 6 iron. You're going for the green. You hit the green. You two putt for birdie. What a way to finish. What a great finishing hole. But if you mess up, well, now you're going to be punished. You're going to go into the water, or you're going to go into the bunker. And now instead of looking at a 2 putt for birdie, you're looking at maybe a 2 putt for bogey. And so I love that style of golf course. There's a lot of holes where you can take the risk of maybe even driving a par 4, but there's a lot of risk around the entire fairway or up by the green. I wish I could tell you the hole number. I think it might be 10 or 11, where you have all this marsh on the left side. There's a lot of crap up near the green. And on the right side of the fairway, there's a stream that runs down. So you really it's not a long drive. If you hit a driver 320, you could possibly drive it from the whites, but there's a risk reward. That's what I'm talking about. So most people will just take a 5 wood or a 3 wood, put it into the fairway, hit it up on the green. And again, these greens are big. They're undulating. You hit a green, you could be 20 yards away, but it's fair. It is fair. And so that's why for me, these are the positives. So it's well maintained. I like the clubhouse, the practice area right there on the premise. And then lastly, the views it's phenomenal. The location, it's easy to get to. It's right off 70. You don't have to drive far off of Interstate 70. I thought those are the positives for sure. Now there are some negatives. So I mentioned how every time I've played there, if I don't have a foursome, they end up putting people with you. And I understand why, especially if you're playing on a weekend. It does feel like sometimes they overbook the golf course. If you go to golfpass.com, that's where people can go on and members can just leave reports or leave reviews of the golf course. Most people say it was a great course, well maintained, 4 out of 5 stars, whatever. There's a lot of people that left it 1-star ratings talking about how long it takes to play. There have been times where I've played this course and it has taken an extremely long time. This is a community course, a course where there are times you're driving through like a community. You have to stop at 4-way stops. You have to watch out for cars. There are times where houses might come into play on certain holes. And so when you're driving through, you realize that to me, that's a negative. I would rather play a course that's kind of out there, that's not around houses. That's just my own personal preference. But also some of these reviews that I read on Golf Pass as of 2025 were really disheartening about some of the young teenagers in the community that were going onto the golf course unattended by parents, and they were messing with golfers, playing music and backswings, saying some pretty crude stuff to golfers. People are paying a lot of money to play this golf course. I just think that's a little ridiculous, but still it's a community course. And to me, that's a negative. The cart paths have always been dreadful there. That started after the changeover from Hollow Creek to Richland Golf Club. And so they need some major overhauls done with their cart paths. And because of that, a lot of people stay off the cart path, which can lead to the rough and in and around the cart paths, even the fairways to get a little nasty at times, especially if it's wet. The cart paths are a negative. The last negative here is the cost. So to give people an idea, in case you are not familiar with this part of Maryland, if you have no idea about where this is in terms of where it is in comparison to like DC and down around the city. Frederick County, Maryland is one county east of Washington County where I live. Once you cross into Frederick County, everything changes from a price standpoint. Everything. Housing goes up at least $150,000 to $200,000. The cost of living is through the roof, and golf courses cost more. Right when you cross over into Frederick County, there are a lot of these courses, two in particular, that are right near Richland Golf Club. Maryland National, you're going to be paying well over $100 to play there on the weekend with a cart. I don't think you can walk. That's only a cart course, but well over $100 to play. Musket Ridge is another course right there in Middletown, that Myersville area. You're going to be paying upwards of $100 there. And so by proxy, Richland has decided to, instead of being the more financially acceptable, or I guess I should say the better option financially, I don't want to say cheaper because it's not a cheap course. They chose to match. I found that very interesting because when I was, just out of college, I'm finding my way in this area. I'm living here now. I always loved playing Hollow Creek or Richland Golf Club because it was more financially feasible for me. Playing Musket Ridge or Maryland National for $100 was not it. Now, they used to be able to play this course for about $60 to $65. Now they've upped it during in season, on a weekend, prime time, $94 on the weekend with a cart. That is a lot of money. And I can't say, if I'm being honest with everyone that watches or listens to this podcast, I can't say that this course is $94. I've reviewed other courses that are equally as expensive, but if you're getting great amenities, a great golf course, you can kind of justify it. I don't know if I can justify it, but I'll tell you what really got under my skin. And this is something that I have had a huge issue with in terms of golf courses wherever I go. And that is the charging of junior golfers. At my country club, they do not charge for my kids ever. They say, if you play in the afternoon and it's not busy, we don't care. They said when they get to the point where they're old enough, maybe we'll talk about a junior membership, but they don't care. They're just going to let them play. Because a lot of times my kids don't even play a full round of golf. They just like to ride in the cart, or they just like to go for a walk. They charge, this is Richland Golf Club, if you're 18 years or under, they charge on a weekend $71. $71. I'm sorry, I can't let that slide. If I were to take my youngest child, who is 7 years old, she'll be 8 years old in June. If I take her to the course with her little golf bag and say, my daughter's going to play, they're going to charge me $71 for her to go out there and putt a little bit on the greens. That's asinine. I'm sorry. I can't get behind that. I feel like there should be a nationwide rule, unless you are a private club and you can set your own guidelines. This is not it. They have membership options, but they are a public course. No golfer under the age of 16 years old should ever be charged to play. Never, ever. I just don't understand it. I cannot understand how they, in their right mind, and maybe they don't, but it's on their website, so I think they do, have a young kid who just wants to go out and enjoy the game, charge them that much money on a weekend. $71. That's their junior rate. Nope. Well, that's stuck in my craw. Not going to lie to you. I've got 5 kids, and where I play, they take care of my family. They don't charge us for a lot of that stuff. I've got issues with this. And so how do I rate it? Well, to be honest with you, the cost really brought this down. I like the course. I think it's a nice layout. I do think that some of the things they change, but it was really the cost, and that junior rate just really sucked. I'm going to give this course a 3.75 out of 5. If this course charged $65 on the weekend and they didn't charge for juniors, this would easily be a 4.25 out of 5 stars, but I can't say that. I can't get over that. $94 for some might be, Jeff, that's not that bad. For me, that's when you play the course and you go to the golf course, this is not a $94 golf course, in my opinion. So would I suggest that you play the course? Will you enjoy it? I think you will. Might take you a while, but I think you will. Will you regret going? I don't think you will regret it, but understand what you're getting yourself into. And, I like the golf course. I like the layout. I think that the designer, Rick Jacobson, did a great job, but since they got to match up. It doesn't match up. So I'm giving this a 3.75 out of 5. I'll be back next week on Tuesday with another Fairways and Dreams podcast. We'll have the press for you as well, getting you ready for the Puerto Rico Open next week. And everyone's excited for that one. And hopefully we'll have a 2-man scramble for you next week. But that does it for me. You know, he finishes up. Be safe, be kind. God bless. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next week.